Hey everyone, Geophysicist Stefan Burns here. We have just gone through a big energetic shakeup with a very strong solar storm impact that triggered a very long duration G3 geomagnetic storm. So a strong geomagnetic storm that we were lucky wasn't much stronger. The magnetic field configuration on it overall was not conducive to triggering a strong geostorm. If it had been, we would have been looking at a G4 storm for sure. That's a severe storm, maybe even up to extreme levels. The magnetic field was up to 40 nanotesla at one point, which is 8 times stronger than normal, pushes way deeper into Earth's magnetic field. But because of its polarity, a lot of the energy actually kind of went around and entered into the magnetotail. So these sort of energetic enhancements that we experience here on Earth either come in fast from a solar storm and we feel it immediately, or sometimes they can take some time to propagate down deeper into the Earth energy system. We've kind of had a combination of both. So with this solar storm impact that we are now just getting through, though we are in a G1 storm right now, even though it's been 3 days now of geomagnetic storming, these effects can take time, as that proves right there. It's now 3 days in, but I'm talking 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. There can be permanent changes to the radiation belts over a time span of like 2, 3, 4 months from a big storm impact. So here we see our radiation belts going back to before this impact, actually going back to before equinox when all this unfolded. And really that's where the story begins, because not only did we have this solar storm, which we start to see right here with the magnetic field just dropping all of its plasma deeper into the planet, into the ionosphere. Afterwards, it will recharge, but we also had a global seismic burst perfectly corresponding with that. And we also had some planetary Cazimis. This may be the aspect that you were unaware of, perhaps. Some of you would be aware of it. If you watch any of the astrology channels, for example, they're covering these sort of planetary alignments, but the astronomy channels typically don't cover planetary alignments. And well, we had a Earth, Sun, Saturn alignment, so a Saturn Cazimi, and also we have, that's coming up actually. We have that coming up in just about a day or two. We had a Earth, Sun, Neptune alignment, because they had a great conjunction back on February 20th of 2026, so just about a month ago exactly, meeting up. They're still close together. Now the sun has moved over them. That's been a big activation, and really this is an activation of where we're going for the Earth for the future, and probably over a longer time frame than just a few years, probably actually at a decadal, maybe even century-long time frame. This is a big deal. So the fact that we had this big impact on Earth's magnetic field with the solar storm, we have more plasma filaments now inbound. That's now going to be following up on this pretty big geomagnetic storm, this global seismic burst. We'll talk about all that. It's really almost like the match lighting a fire. That's kind of how I see it. So a lot to talk about in today's video. The convergence that we had between the solar, the planetary, and the geophysical energies. So let's start off right away with our solar component. We are looking here at our 304 angstrom view. We see this first plasma filament eruption, and then you see that second one. They're really quick, so they're hard to see, but you notice that large second one, this canyon of fire that rippled out afterwards. So again, watch here. You'll see this first plasma filament go pretty quick. So there's a quick poof. There it is. The second one destabilizes, and you notice that canyon of fire. Those are both headed towards Earth, though to the south and slightly behind our orbit, but we're expecting perhaps flank impacts, like an impact just from the side of that structure around the 26th of March or so. So the fact that this geostorm is now going on 3 days, and we're in this high-speed stream, this is going to continue all that activity till the end of March. We can look at our real-time solar wind, get a sense of that really quick. Here we have our solar wind parameters and our geomagnetic indices represented by our 3-hour KP index. So we see that we ramped up to G3 levels right here. Like, that's a strong geostorm. G1 is minor, G2 is moderate, G3 is strong, G4 is severe, G5 is extreme. We did not get to G4, G5, though based off of this magnetic field, if this had been negative polarity rather than positive polarity, we see that red line, if it had been down in this negative polarity zone, it would have been a G4 storm. And no one was really forecasting that because they thought it was just going to be a tiny little wimpy impact. Well, I mean, the G2, G3 conditions aren't necessarily crazy, but the potential was there. And this energy is still interacting with the Earth. So just because it didn't trigger a lot of magnetic flux doesn't mean it's not interacting with us energetically. I think case in point that proves this is the seismic bursts that we've had. So there has been a huge amount of seismicity just over the past few days, a magnitude 6.6 and then a 6.1 earthquake, 6.6, another one, 6.2, 6.2, 6.3. That cumulative, those three combined equal a 6.6 earthquake. All those earthquakes combined together are equivalent to a magnitude 6.9 earthquake. So that's a big release of seismicity across the entire globe. We see that we're in this high-speed stream right here. Solar wind velocity now is about 640 kilometers per second. We did get close to 700 as I forecasted based off of the coronal holes that we're seeing on the sun. I can show you that right here really quick. We've been looking at these. These are what are probably driving our earthquake activity. Of course, plate tectonics and the movement of the plates is the really big deal. But what we saw is the last time this was on the Earth-facing side, right in this position, back on the 22nd of February, that's when we had the magnitude 7 on the island of Borneo. And well, it came back 28 days later, and we had that seismic burst I described, the 6.6, the 6.1, 6.6, 6.2, 6.2, 6.3, right? It's a little bit beyond coincidence at that point. So we're now firmly embedded in this high-speed stream, and this has been a long-duration geomagnetic storm. There is some indication as to why we had this be stronger than normal. I think that's probably because of this Neptune and Saturn Cazimi. When we have these sort of planetary alignments, we see these this more solar activity and also an enhancement to the geomagnetic activity beyond what you may expect. There's also that connection with earthquakes, and well, we've been seeing that. Let's look at our latest earthquakes here before we talk more about the planetary stuff and how I really see this as the divergent point for two different timelines. And one of them is old Earth, one is new Earth, and the new Earth one is the one that we want collectively because old Earth looks awful, all right? I think we can all agree on that. If you're not on board, then just you need to like get out of here because I'm not interested in it personally. But we hope that everyone gets on board the new Earth. Here is a seismic burst that occurred. This is all south of the Samoa and in the Tonga area. This is significant. We see here it's still ongoing. So we had this 6.2 back on the 22nd right here. And then we had 4.7. There's the other 6.2. 6.3 just 3 minutes later. So that's a quick boom, boom, just like that. 6.2, 6.3. And now look at all these aftershocks. 5.6, 4.8, 5.9, 5.8. So this has been a significant release of energy here just out the Samoa, in Tonga, and the upper part of the Kermadec Trench. And this is just to the north of where we had the largest volcanic eruption thus far in the 21st century, which is the Hunga Tonga Hunga Ha'apai eruption back January of 2022, not that long ago. So it's not this exact same location, but hey, it's pretty much right there if we're talking on a global sense. Just showing, and we had a bunch, remember all the deep magnitude 6 earthquakes we had around Fiji? This is just showing that there's a lot of energy in this area in general right now at this point in geologic time, okay? I'm not talking about the past week, which that is the case, but I'm talking about the past 5 years, maybe the past 10 years, right? We had a big, I think it was like a deep megaquake in this area in 2018 perhaps, around Fiji. It was very anomalous. I'm pretty sure that's the date. So yeah, there's been a lot of activity. You could even say that was perhaps a warning sign for Hungatonga Pi. So we had that, but if we sort by largest magnitude, we just see that we've had a ton of activity. We had South Shetland Islands. That was right as this solar storm came in. We see that 6.6 right there. We had a 6.7 on the mid-ocean ridge, the mid-Atlantic ridge. It downgraded to a 6.6. So when I first reported on that, 6.7, now it's showing a 6.6. Kind of interesting that if you take the energy of the 6.2, 6.2, and 6.3 that struck just out the Samoa, that also equates to a 6.6. So 6.6, 6.6, 6.6 collectively. It's kind of bizarre. If you add all that up together, it equates to a 6.9. We also have the 6.1 there, Vanuatu, so close by to this seismic burst. So that's the release of energy. There is a heightened chance of there being a higher magnitude earthquake in this location for the next probably month now, and the highest risk is for the immediate days ahead of us, and it'll decrease kind of like this as you go out unless we see more activity. But I would not be surprised, because of what we're seeing there, that we get a magnitude 7 plus, or perhaps it also times with this coronal hole, whereas next time this rotates around, we get that size, that higher magnitude earthquake. It's not a guarantee. This is a forecast. I'm issuing probabilities basically, but I think that risk is much higher, though thankfully it's not much of a risk to people. So I guess I could say the probability of that is much higher than normal, because we're seeing the sort of activity that often precedes high magnitude earthquakes. So that is very clear. Now let's go back to these filaments that just launched. We can look at it here with our chronograph view. This is our C3 chronograph. You'll see this one, their launch. You'll see some other activity too. This is going south of the Earth and a little bit behind our orbit. But you see that there's actually pretty good expansion on that. It's a partial halo. So I think we're going to get clipped by that. And then with the other one that launched ahead of it, and you see some of this other activity on the sun, just in general, the sun's been very active for the past week or so. So I think we have some more solar wind disturbances coming our way around the 26th of March. And this is going to be following up after this long duration G3 geomagnetic storm. And that should be lining basically with the Saturn Cazimi. So that's coming up as well. We can look at our solar wind model before we talk more about the planetary stuff, though I'm going to get into that next. Here we see how they model this coronal mass ejection launching off, and it's going right here, and we see just the flank of it hitting, also just to the north there. This is the south-north view. So not a high confidence hit based off of the modeling that NOAA and NASA have done. I'm a little bit more confident it'll hit because these coronal mass ejections spread out a little wider. If you read the research, I'm not sure if they're using those updated models from those research papers yet. They do a good job in general. I'm very grateful for all the data and the products and everything, right? I wouldn't be able to do what I do without the work of a lot of great and honestly genius individuals at these organizations. There's still some weird stuff that happens at times, but you know, give praise where praise is due. Wouldn't be able to do without them. I think though it's probably a little bit more likely to hit us considering all these factors that I'm discussing. So that's coming in. Also wanted to point out that we've been having crazy flooding in Hawaii and also a record wildfire in Nebraska. So I'm going to get back to that because this is relevant for this discussion as it relates to the timeline split. But let us load up Stellarium to see what these planetary energies are that I've been discussing, because this is really key. So we can move this over here. Here we go. And I'm going to turn on the constellation labels. I'm going to turn on the ecliptic plane here. Here it is. Zoom out a little bit. And also load up the date and time window. Boom, shakalaka. Okay, so we see here Venus setting as an evening star. If we go back a couple hours, here we see the sun. We see the sun is in the constellation of Pisces. So we are now past equinox. It's in, if you go by the zodiac, we see that it's in Aries. but in terms of true sky position, it's in the constellation of Pisces, as we can see right here. Now, if we go forward an hour, and we really, let's turn off our atmosphere here, we see Saturn right there. So here's Saturn. Saturn is the planet out beyond Jupiter, the second largest planet in our solar system. It's about to go Cazimi. So if we go forward a day, we see that all of a sudden we get Saturn and the Sun to go conjunct. This is something that occurs every year because the Sun is moving, well rather we're moving around the Sun. So from our perspective, the Sun hits Saturn every single year, hits Jupiter every year, Neptune, all the outer planets get their annual Cazimi. That's going to be around the 24th, 25th. If we go back in time, let's go back in time a little bit. We're probably going to have to search for our friend Neptune here. Here we see Neptune. So we see that on the 21st, and let me zoom that over for you. On the 21st and on the 22nd is when we had the Neptune Cazimi. So both of these planets, big outer planets, just having done a great conjunction, because if we go back to the 20th of February, we will see their great conjunction here. Neptune still being highlighted. There they are, exactly conjunct. That's a 1 in 36 year cycle. That occurred in Pisces. Same location where we are now, exactly on that vernal equinox point. So it has tons of significance. If you look at it, we see that this was in Aries with the Western Tropical System, but it's in the constellation of Pisces. And that's kind of that timeline split that we're seeing. Is we're seeing some activity that's very Aries-like a lot of the solar activity is very Aries-like, the Sun moving into its exaltation of Aries, the fire sign of initiation, combustion, boom shakalaka, that's pretty Aries. But at the same time, you're seeing like massive flooding in Hawaii. And you're seeing disruptions to oil transport and more. That's all, Neptune rules over oil and the seas and everything. Pisces is water. So we're seeing this water and fire energy. We're seeing war breakout, which is very Aries. Aries is ruled by Mars, the war god. It's happening in the month of Mars, or March, right? But in some languages like Italian, it's actually, this month is Mars. So we're seeing this split. One is very masculine and one is very feminine. And the masculine expression right now, at least at the top with some of these leaders, has not been it has not been anything to be proud of, personally. I don't think so, at least. It's been very sad to see. We saw with the outbreak of that war, you know, it was like 180 schoolgirls killed by an accidental strike by the United States. I mean, it's deplorable. Regardless, we're seeing this timeline split. Here's the deal. As we go forward now, here, the Sun is now doing its Cazimi, which is a rebirth moment for these planets. They do their great conjunction, and now this solar energy is coming in and energizing them. Saturn's going to stay in Aries, if used tropical, for 2.5 years. Neptune's going to stay there for 14 years. If we go forward in time here, we see that Saturn leaves Pisces around 2028, 2029, true sky. Neptune's going to take some time to leave this constellation. It's a big constellation. Here we're tracking Neptune. Neptune does not leave Pisces until roughly 2041 or so. So this is the first activation that these planets are getting by the Sun after their great conjunction in this constellation, and if we go by tropical, in their new sign. So we have now this new 2.5 year period with Saturn, this new 14-year period with Neptune for both these energies. Doesn't matter what system you use, in this case, we're seeing this expression of them and things are really accelerating. And as all that happened, right, we have the Saturn Cazimi coming up in just a day or two. As all this is happening, we get a really strong solar storm impact. G3 levels should have been higher though. Thankfully the polarity wasn't negative, but that doesn't mean the energy is not still interacting with us. Now it's mostly in the magnetotail. Eventually that's going to filter down. And we saw a global seismic burst. We also saw, as I described earlier, this stuff happening in the United States. And that's really the focus point for a lot of energy right now. Nebraska wildfire is really an expression of that destructive Aries potential. Aries is creation, but also destruction. There can't be creation without destruction beforehand, really, right? The phoenix rises from the ashes. So here we're seeing the largest wildfire in this state's history, going up to about 650,000 acres. It's now contained, so that's great. But it was a tremendous wildfire. That's really an expression of the Aries energy. Meanwhile, we see with Hawaii the strongest flooding that they've seen in 20 years. And this is really concentrated primarily northern part of Oahu. But it's just really clear that we're seeing this divergence of the energies and an amplification of both of them. So really intense stuff where we can actually see these things manifest in real life. And the real goal is hopefully see some beneficial changes manifest in real life. I think we are going to start seeing that. I mean, we are seeing it, but I think we're really going to start seeing it as people take the initiative to do things that make a positive difference. So that is hopefully what we get. Before I sign off, let's just check to see if there's any recent earthquakes. We're seeing some activity here. South of Japan, doesn't look like anything crazy though, pretty normal stuff, magnitude 4s and things, and the Ryukyu Trench. This last strong earthquake being this 5.8 in the burst, which I discussed there. So Saturn Cazimi coming up, another solar impact. Either it could be a complete miss, it could be a slight hit, or it could be a stronger hit than expected. I put each of those probably at a third probability, 33%. So we'll have to wait and see, but that means that 2/3 chance that we have something that's going to hit us to some degree. That's coming in right afterwards. And then, well, we have some big comets coming in April. So I've definitely been tracking that on my Clips channel. We've been having meteors flying in all across the United States and in Europe. Also, they picked meteors up in Turkey and stuff. Like there seems to be some sort of debris stream that we're traveling in. I think it's from 3i Atlas, but we can't definitively say. But definitely an anomalous surge of fireballs and meteors. So something is happening. That really is a sign of the times. If that's not a sign of the times, I don't know what is. So that is your update. Just a reminder, or if you haven't heard yet, I have a website. This is where we sell holistic wellness products and merchandise. The herbal coffee and the teas, all that we make and mix ourselves, my dad and I. So we're not outsourcing this. This is super high quality organic ingredients. We just dropped the price on herb coffee from $27 to $24 per bag. We have new suppliers that have fantastic ingredients, even better than our prior ones at lower price points. So with inflation probably going to start spiking again soon. I don't know how long it's going to stay at this price point. We hope to keep our prices as low as possible. I don't have these artificially inflated, so then I can hold sales all the time, which is what 95% of businesses do, because there's a psychology of having a sale that drives people to buy things. But we're just permanently lowering the price on our herb coffee. 50% single origin organic, shade-grown Peruvian coffee, as well as chicory root, dandelion root, and lion's mane mushroom. So fantastic for neuropotentiation, rewiring your brain, being creative, yet being a little bit focused at the same time so you actually get the thing done. This is fantastic to drink every morning. If you want something to drink in the morning, it's half caffeine, so it's also good to drink when there is a lot of energy floating around, geostorms, whatever, you're feeling it maybe, but you still like your coffee. This is the one to drink because you're not going to be spiking that cortisol so much. We also have merchandise, shirts on the store. The Explore the Cosmos shirt has built-in sacred geometry with the Fibonacci spiral. Really amazing energy just wearing that shirt. It's 100% cotton. All this stuff is natural crystals, other tea blends and more. I recommend you all check it out. This is earthevolution.com/store. Just wanted to let you know that we dropped the price on this. And if you've been, I'm about to get back home, so I'm going to be catching up on all the Earth Evolution stuff soon and probably creating some new products and more. So keep up to date there. There's some exciting things in the works for Earth Evolution. So that is your update for today. I've been your host, Stefan Burns. Thank you all so much, everybody. Before I sign off, we've had some very generous super thanks come in. We have one here from Federica, thank you so much for your super sticker. It's very generous of you. Also one here from J5L5M6. Thank you for the support and for the kind comment there. We also have very generous super thanks here from Sky Key 13. So thank you so much for that. I think you're probably referencing the 13 lunar cycles per year, perhaps. Also, memberships gifted by Hill Jackal. Thank you from Shirley. Thanks for being a member for 2 months. #1 fan. Well, there's a lot of people competing for #1 fan, but I believe it. You're all #1 fans. And yes, that is also an astrological term. I don't even know how to pronounce it though. Syzygy, where you have multiple planets Cazimi at the same time. And then thank you to Rebecca as well. So thank you all so much, everyone, for your support. Love and light to each and every single one of you. The main burst of energy from the solar storm, the geostorm, has passed, so we're now back in G1 conditions, but still important to do earthing and grounding, keeping your diet clean, eating foods that agree with you, drink good water, spring water, make sure you get outside, get light on your skin, get light in your eyeballs, get fresh air in your lungs, move your body. All these things are fantastic to do. I always recommend that, but rest when needed. So with that, have a great day, and I'll see you all in the next video.